Very good evening. This is the PNGTV Live News Bulletin. I'm Belinda Cora. The Bougainville Referendum Report is ready and expected to be tabled in this Parliament session. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill confirms the report will be presented by the Joint Bougainville Referendum Committee and tabled on the floor on Thursday, the 12th of April. Quentin Anaime with this update.
As Bougainville goes into referendum in 15 months, it is vital that all referendum conditions in the peace agreement that was signed 20 years ago are met. Chairman of the Joint Bougainville Referendum Committee, Governor for Southern Highlands Province William Powie will present the report in Parliament next week. Prime Minister O'Neill has also instructed the Minister for Bougainville Affairs, Father Simon Dumarino, to present a ministerial statement to highlight the situation on ground in Bougainville leading up to the referendum. Prime Minister O'Neill was responding to questions raised in Parliament today by member for Nuku Joe Sungi on the familiarity of the referendum that will take place on the 15th of June 2019. He says the country must respect what the peace agreement stands for, the basis which provides for the referendum.
Whether a question of whether Bougainville will acquire independence or whether they're voting for independence or voting for greater autonomy, that question has not been agreed to yet, Mr. Speaker, and it is not for ABG alone to set that question. The question has got to be set jointly so that we can be able to put it to the people of Bougainville.
O'Neill adds the result of the referendum has to be endorsed by Parliament.
It is the wisdom of our forefathers when they signed that peace agreement that this Parliament has to either endorse it or reject it. And that is a question that will be presented to after the referendum has been concluded.
The Prime Minister highlights two vital conditions of the peace agreement that must be achieved before the referendum. The weapons disposal program must be completed and there must be rule of law where citizens and communities don't feel threatened. O'Neill says this must be addressed before referendum. Quintin Anaime, PNGTV Live.
A heated debate was exchanged on the floor of Parliament this morning between Oro Governor Gary Jufa and Forest Minister Douglas Tomoriesa over yet another case of an alleged illegal logging activity in the Collingwood Bay of Oro Province. This transpired during question time when the member for EKI VAKI, Richard Masere, asked the minister for an update on this particular project. Governor Jufa was quick with a series of supplementary questions concerning the validity of permit and license acquisition and the legitimacy of land ownership. Festus Maganap with this update.
You sit down. You sit down. Don't mislead Parliament.
Question time nearly turned into a debate. Governor Jufa and the Forest Minister at loggerheads over yet another controversial project in the Collingwood Bay. This comes after two previous attempts in illegal logging having been successfully defeated in court.
Facebook minister, you sit down.
You're not stealing ground, no plus for me. You are no, not true.
The issue here was over the legitimacy in the granting of a forest clearance authority for what the governor described as an illegal logging activity under the pretext of an agricultural licensed project in Tufi-Wanigela of the Collingwood Bay area.
Social mapping was not done. The FCA was granted before the PMFC met and before the social mapping was done. So due diligence was never done. You don't know who the genuine landowners of Collingwood are, so don't mislead Parliament.
Minister Tomoriesa, however, was present with a full report on the project that states otherwise, a report which he then presented to Parliament. He denied all allegations made by the governor, emphasizing that proper process and procedures were followed in the project, one that also warrants legitimacy of landowners.
Here I have a legitimate land title of landowners dating back to more than 100 years.
However, Governor Jufa, through a point of order, had this to say.
I have a document here from the Council of Chiefs signed by the Chief Magistrate of the Wanigela Village Court that completely refutes his claims and statements. We are doing our own due diligence, and we have found that these are not landowners that he is purporting to support.
Despite the controversy associated to this particular project, the minister is adamant it will go ahead. He has called on members of parliament to unite in bringing about projects that complement development in remote areas.
We must give opportunity to investment to run in this country. We cannot be killing investment before it runs.
Parliament is expected to receive a separate report from Governor Jufa soon. Festus Maigana, PNGTV Live.
Transparency International PNG recognizes anti-corruption initiatives, and the Phones Against Corruption initiative by the Department of Finance has been greatly supported by the organization. TIPNG Executive Director Arian Kasman says their support has gone as far as raising the awareness on phones against corruption. Florida Gulaseni with this update.
Mobile technologies offer remarkable opportunities for promoting good governance, increasing accountability, and fighting corruption. More and more of our people now own mobile phones, which can now allow rapid data collection and access to information, and even offer innovative avenues for social mobilization and participation.
I think the Phones Against Corruption initiative is the first step in reporting corruption. As they pointed out, the next step is ensuring that the complaints that are reported through this system do get investigated, the people are prosecuted, and justice prevails.
Kasman added that the Department of Finance is working alongside TIPNG events to ensure that the awarenesses they're carrying out is educational and assists in reporting about corruption, which is an important step to fighting corruption.
That we not only set up mechanisms where people can report, but also make public some of the outcomes of these cases. So it encourages people to report corruption. It also encourages people to see that there is something being done by corruption. There is something being done about corruption, and that it is government agencies that are taking the lead to address this issue of corruption here in PNG.
Last year, TIPNG awarded the Phones Against Corruption initiative with an Integrity Initiative Excellence Award, recognizing the great work rolled out by the Department of Finance and the United Nations Development Program.
And this was about creating a platform where the agency could talk about this great concept that they have and to share it with agencies. And we're really encouraged today by the step that's been taken by the department to go out and ensure that Phones Against Corruption is accessible to people around the country. Will be duplicated for all the agencies and, of course, all the provinces' internal audit committees.
Florida Gulaseni, PNGTV Live.
It is now 3 weeks on since EKI VAKI Primary School in the Moresby Northwest Electorate was shut down when NCDC health inspectors issued a notice for its indefinite closure for health risks. More than 2,000 students have been forced to stay home, and with Term 1 ending this week, the much-anticipated reopening of the school is still uncertain. Kalagen Tanda with this update.
EKI VAKI Primary School in Hohola has remained closed for the last 3 weeks since the 16th of March due to NCDC health inspectors citing health defects in their assessment of the school's facilities. The inspectors found the 2 toilet blocks being in a deteriorating phase and not being adequate to cater for the number of students. No wash basins, nil drinking water taps, and indiscriminate defecating in the blocks were just some of the defects noted. The classrooms were found to be old and deteriorating, with some having holes in the roof that didn't allow for learning during rainy days. The inspectors also noted the school's waste management problems, where rubbish was not getting picked up by the waste management contractors and was piling up at the back of the toilet facilities. The health inspectors did recommend the engagement of a reliable contractor to refurbish the ablution blocks and new wash basins and water closets, along with the installation of lights, and to ensure drinking water taps to be constructed away from the toilet area. They also advised for the renovations of the classrooms and for the school to liaise with the NCDC Waste Management Division to collect rubbish regularly, and for the school to create a mini incinerator to burn papers and boxes. Speaking with PNGTV, Head teacher Colin Hobart states that so far, in a bid to renovate the toilet blocks, the parents of students have raised over 10,000 kina, which is half of their estimated target of 20,000 kina. This has so far seen the engagement of youths in the community to clean the toilet blocks before renovations can be made, as well as a partial payment of the water bill, which currently sits at 49,000 kina. Mr. Hobart estimates the total cost of renovations to the toilet blocks and classrooms and other recommendations by the inspectors to be in the vicinity of 300,000 kina. So far, these and specific costings have been presented to the Office of the Director for NCDC Education Services to deliberate on, in the hopes of engaging a reliable contractor as soon as possible. Hobart confirmed that as of last Thursday till now, contractors have been visiting the school to assess what needs to be done. At this point in time, the school board and the head teacher can only hope to see school resume for the 2,200 students in the first week of Term 2, which is 2 weeks away. All attention is now focused on the NCDC Education Services Director's Office to see how fast they can engage contractors to carry out the much-needed maintenance and repairs. Kalagantanda, PNGTV Live.
The challenge of attempting to fix aging transmission lines to a growing population is one major reason behind blackouts in the parts of the Highlands region. This was part of an explanation this week in Parliament House by the Minister for State-Owned Enterprise, William Duma, when replying to a series of questions by the Governor for Eastern Highlands Province, Peter Numu.
We produce power.
Apart from the constant blackouts, the Governor was happy to note the government's effort in allocating 30% equity to landowners for the new Ramo 2 project and questioned when this project will commence. In response, Minister Duma highlighted efforts made to improve the capacity of the Yonki Dam, coupled with the fact that aging transmission lines needed urgent attention to improve delivery.
The Yonki hydro scheme was designed and then installed in the early 1970s, and it was meant for a population less than 1 million. Unfortunately, due to the increased population as well as the apparent failure on the part of government as well as the management and board of this company going back to more than 20 years, we've had problems with the ability of that hydro scheme to be able to provide power back across to Morobe as well.
The minister has promised to put aside funding to improve the Yonki Dam.
As we speak, Mr. Speaker, the turbines are actually producing below capacity, and that is a problem that we are trying to remedy. And I'd like to ask all of our users up the Highlands Region to be a bit patient, and we will try to remedy the situation. Mr. Deputy Speaker, in relation to the issue of our people in the neighboring areas not being able to access power, unfortunately and sadly, this a situation where no one actually thought about giving power even at concessional rates to the landowners.
You're watching PNGTV Live News Bulletin. More after these messages. Welcome back. You're watching PNGTV Live News Bulletin. The Bougainville Referendum scheduled for 2019, and the government of Papua New Guinea is working to ensure infrastructure development and basic services are reaching the people. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill highlights that the 100 million kina given annually to the autonomous region of Bougainville is being used for that purpose. Quentin Anaime with this update.
And Mr. Speaker, since 2012, we have been fulfilling that.
Prime Minister O'Neill said during question time in Parliament today that the government was committed to ensuring that services continue to flow to the people.
I would like to ask if the Prime Minister can table that.
He said this in response to questions raised by Mississippi Governor Allen Bird to provide a report on the development taking place on Bougainville since the funding commenced in 2012. Baird states that the government must assure that everything possible has been done to ensure that the people of Bougainville remain interested in staying part of Papua New Guinea. O'Neill clarifies that the 100 million kina given annually is not part of the Bougainville peace agreement signed 20 years ago. He says the government is committed to working with the people of Bougainville to ensure there is infrastructure development and service delivery.
It is my responsibility. I am accountable to the people of Papua New Guinea on how that money has been spent on Bougainville. That's why we intervened, that we have to now set projects together and manage those projects so they deliver to the people of Bougainville. I'm not just going to hand out checks that are going to be misused.
O'Neill explains the government had to intervene when there was no evidence of development on Bougainville.
As a result, we've been able to open up Arawa Airport. We've been able to open up the ports. We've been able to open up the power stations. We've been able to seal all the roads, Mr. Speaker. There's a lot more going on in Bougainville than what you think it is happening. Mr. Speaker, Arawa Hospital is functioning. These are services that government is supporting.
The referendum is scheduled to take place on the 15th of June 2019. Quintina Naime, PNGTV Live.
And the Sunday school children of Vabukori United Church were some of the first children in Port Moresby to enjoy the great taste of Illimo Fresh Milk in its 250 ml packaging. Innovative Agro-Industry PNG Business Development Manager Galit Tamir says they were so excited to visit the children. He says they were a joy to meet and they could really feel their warm welcome in the enthusiasm of their beautifully performed musical presentations. Sunday School Supervisor Ms. Vanuga Moses did a fantastic job preparing them. Tamir spoke to the children about the importance of drinking fresh milk to a well-balanced nutritional diet. The new 250 milliliters of Illimo Fresh Milk will retail for 3 kina 30 toya at retail outlets throughout Port Moresby. The Illimo Farm is the first dairy enterprise in Papua New Guinea, and it's an innovative step towards creating dairy self-sufficiency in the region. The initiative will spawn a variety of benefits for locals, children in particular, including increased wellness, lower product prices, as well as increased knowledge on the dairy market sphere and create operational efficiency. The dairy industry in PNG is currently 100% based on imports, thus local consumption is significantly limited due to the high import costs. This initiative aims to create self-sufficiency through large-scale production and the supplying of dairy products to the local population, placing particular emphasis on the youth population. Amidst the recent reports of post-earthquake violence and trouble fights in Oro Province, the Family and Sexual Violence Action Committee, a sectoral committee of the Consultative Implementation and Monitoring Council, has been extremely concerned about the welfare and safety of women and children who have been displaced or are homeless following the earthquake in the Highlands Region. Quintin and Naime with this report.
According to reports on ground, displaced women and children who have been traumatized by the earthquake have been greatly affected and have become further displaced after tribal fights erupted in parts of Tari. FSVAC National Coordinator Marcia Kalinoi says most people have suffered losses of loved ones, homes, gardens, livestock and other properties, and especially for women and children, they are in constant fear and anxiety of having to lose their lives or suffer serious harm like physical and sexual abuse. He added women, children and elderly people are the most affected in any disaster and are vulnerable, putting up with harsh living conditions like lack of proper shelter, clean water and poor sanitation, lack of proper nutrition and maternal and pediatric care. FSVAC is appealing to Hela leaders and in particular the tribal leaders to resolve issues peacefully and put an end to fighting, and for responsible government authorities to work together with provincial counterparts, community leaders, organizations, and churches to prioritize on establishing safety mechanisms or community support systems and safety zones, including counseling services for displaced quake survivors to avoid possible re-victimization of the victims and restore normalcy to the province. The CIMC committee is also calling on men and women in the affected areas to start thinking seriously about promoting safer communities and strengthening family unity. She further encouraged quake survivors who have become further victimized by tribal fights in the area that are in need of counseling can call the One Talk Counseling Helping Line 7150-8000. Quintina Naime, PNGTV Live.
You're watching PNGTV Live News Bulletin. More after these messages. Welcome back. You're watching PNGTV Live News Bulletin. The 21st Commonwealth Games is officially underway after a spectacular opening ceremony last night at the Carrara Stadium and along Gold Coast in Australia. As countries participating marched out in alphabetical order, Team Papua New Guinea, or PNG, was led into the arena by first-time Commonwealth participant, para-athlete from the sport of table tennis, Vero Nime. Quintin and I'm here with this update.
More than 4,500 athletes from 71 nations and territories will be competing for 275 gold medals over the 11 days of competition. A crowd of 35,000 packed into the Carrara Stadium. Despite a heavy downpour of rain at the start of proceedings, the crowd and the athletes were treated to a ceremony showcasing music and dance, drawing on Australia's history and traditions. The Games were officially declared open by the Prince of Wales, representing the Queen, the head of the Commonwealth.
Commonwealth Games open.
Scotland was the first team out into the stadium. PNG was among 14 countries in the Oceania region, including New Zealand, Fiji, Kiribati, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, and host Australia to end the march out into the arena. Sprinter Patricia Taya led the Cook Islands team. Weightlifter Apollonia Vavai led the Fijian team. Boxer Megan Maka carried the flag for Tonga, and weightlifter Jenly Teguwini led the Solomon Islands team. However, the biggest cheer of the night was reserved for the record 473-strong Australian team headed by hockey player Mark Knowles. Nime proudly carried the PNG flag as she led 57 athletes, 32 officials from 10 sports out into the main arena.
Papua New Guinea, their 14th appearance at the Commonwealth Games. They've won.
These games are special.
The athletes were welcomed to the Gold Coast by Commonwealth Games Chairman Peter Beattie. After the baton made its way around the stadium via some iconic Australian sports people, it was presented to the Prince of Wales. Prince Charles said he and the Duchess of Cornwall were delighted to be in attendance and read a message from the Queen.
That even though we may be half a world away, we are all connected. Over the years, these friendly games have shown the potential of the Commonwealth to connect people of different backgrounds and nationalities.
A giant replica of Magaloo, the white humpback whale, which has become a symbol of environmental matters in Australia, floated gently into the stadium before the ceremony finished in a blaze of fireworks. Quintina Naime, PNGTV Live.
And Team PNG's first athlete to compete at the Gold Coast 2018 Commonwealth Games, triathlete Rachel Saperi James, created history for PNG by becoming the first triathlete to finish an elite international level race. 4 years ago, Rachel competed in the 2014 Glasgow Commonwealth Games, where she did not finish the race. The triathlon today, which consists of 3 events in one, begins with a 750-meter swim leg. Competitors then transition to a 20-kilometer bicycle leg before finishing off with a 5-kilometer run. Rachel's dedication, preparation to what is arguably the most challenging event on the Commonwealth Games sports program paid off when she crossed the finish line in a time of 1 hour, 10 minutes and 29 seconds, placing her 20th. After competing at the Pacific Games, Rachel has traveled back and forth between the Sunshine Coast and Papua New Guinea to increase her training. She became and maintained her ranking as the #1 female Pacific Islander from 2016 through to 2017 to qualify for the Commonwealth Games. Team PNG also competed in lawn bowls, squash, weightlifting, swimming and boxing, and results will be posted on our PNGTV Live Facebook page this evening. You're watching PNGTV Live News Bulletin. More at 7 p.m. tomorrow. From the news team, it's good night.